Alright, so in this video we are going to go over a few college basketball arenas that are too small for college basketball. These are arenas where demand for tickets is so high that there's usually multi-year sellout streaks, or the demand is such where there are very few, if ever any, unsold tickets to games. And what you basically have here in most cases is the program has kind of outgrown the size of the arena that it plays in, as most of these have become name college basketball programs year in and year out. These are the arenas too small for college basketball. To start off, we have Virginia Commonwealth University's Stuart C. Siegel Center. It has a capacity of 7,637, and as of the most recent data, it was 97.3% full for games. So this arena opened in 1999, which was a period where VCU was going through kind of a slump in basketball. They had only made the NCAA tournament once in the 14 years before this arena opened, so it probably didn't make sense to have a huge arena at the time. However, throughout the 2000s, they started to make the NCAA tournament semi-regularly, and then starting around the time they had their surprise Final Four appearance in 2011, they would have a 10-year sellout streak. Starting in 2011, they would make the tournament 7 straight times and 10 out of 13 seasons. While that sellout streak did end recently, demand is still very high for games here, and that is definitely due to this team's vast improvement on the court over the last 15 years or so, along with a fairly strong and stable student population of over 28,000 as of 2023. Next we go to Gonzaga University's McCarthy Athletic Center, which has a capacity of 6,000 and has never not had a sellout since it opened in 2004. You know, Gonzaga may seem like a powerhouse college basketball team, but they only made the NCAA tournament once in their first 47 seasons. And while they were starting to play good by the time this arena was built, the history would say that this run of success that they've had ever since the late 90s, making the tournament 26 out of 27 seasons, would have seemed unlikely at the time given the team's history. Spokane, where the university is located, is a pretty large city with over 229,000 people, and it has grown fairly steadily the last 35 years or so, and there's no major pro sports teams in the NFL, NHL, MLB, or NBA to compete with. So even though this university only has a student population of about 7,300, being a solid college basketball team in a city that does not have a team in the Big Four leagues, and that's fairly isolated from major cities that do have these teams, definitely goes a long way in the Bulldogs having solid attendance numbers year in and year out for many years now. Next up we have Villanova's Finneran Pavilion. At a capacity of 6,500, this arena has sold out every game from 2001 until at least 2019. That's just the most recent data I could find for the sellout streak. You know, this is really like a first-tier college basketball program. The capacity works relatively well with the size of the university, as this is just over 10,000 students. But this college is right outside of Philadelphia, which is a major city, so I'm sure that helps bring in a lot of attendance even off campus. But given that this basketball team is regularly really good, regularly making the tournament, and has won 2 national championships in recent memory, has a long history of being good, and is near a major city, attendance is not an issue here. From what I can tell, if there is a game where capacity is expected to be well over what Finneran Pavilion can hold, Villanova has just had their games at larger arenas in Philadelphia. But you know, this arena does really give off a truly unique atmosphere for basketball as opposed to more standardized looking arenas. And lastly, but certainly not least, we have Duke's Cameron Indoor Stadium. With a capacity of only 9,314, every single game has been sold out since 1990. Now this arena is 85 years old, so it was built during a very different time for Duke basketball and a very different time for the area that the college is in. For much of the arena's early history, the basketball team was pretty mediocre compared to what Duke is today. It wasn't until the late 1970s that Duke basketball really started to gain momentum, and then from 1980 onward with Coach K, after his first few years, things really began to take off, with Duke only missing the tournament one time from 1983 all the way to 2019, during which time Duke would win 5 national championships and go very deep in the tournament many other years. Duke is also a very prestigious university with a only 5.1% acceptance rate. And aside from this, the area that Duke is in, the Research Triangle Park, has grown massively over the decades. Cities like Raleigh and Durham are very high growth right now, and North Carolina is high growth right now. So the capacity is really reflective of a different time period in Duke's history. I mean, demand is so high for tickets here that you have students regularly camping out in what is known as Krzyzewskiville, which is where a bunch of students set up tents waiting for tickets to go on sale at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Obviously, they could probably build a much larger arena like North Carolina has and sell a lot more tickets, but I think the preference is to have the more historic looking building and to keep the prestige of having very high demand for tickets going, as I don't think Duke will ever have any attendance issues any point in the near future. So those are 4 arenas that are too small for college basketball. Let me know what you think, and thank you for watching.